episode, we have a serial entrepreneur and a pioneer in creating e-tendering platform with over $45 billion worth of process bids. Whilst being an active member of the UAE's entrepreneurial scene as a mentor and a speaker, he's also had time to build the region's largest business intelligence platform, Protenders, and exudes a calm and confident charisma that you can't fake. Karim, welcome to the FabTXV podcast.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
That was a very nice intro.
Well, thank you very much. It's true. I mean, look, I haven't had many interactions with you, but what I sense from you is you have this very calm way. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's just what I sense. Maybe it's just superficially, like I am sensing it, but you have this very calm energy.
It's the advantage of getting older. The older you get, the more you start to control your inner...
I'm doing the opposite. The older I'm getting more hyped up and excited, and I'm like, ah! And people can vouch when I literally see them, I'm like an excitable bunny.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it in the reverse.
Well, listen, I've been in this ecosystem for 15 years, right? So I've seen a lot of things come in and go, and that has a tendency to calm you down a bit. Yeah.
Beautiful. Right, let's get into that experience.
Get into it.
Can you tell me, during your near 2 decades of entrepreneurial experience, what's been the hardest challenge you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
So there isn't one particular hard challenge. I think we've done every single mistake in the book. And I mean, the reality is I started when I was in 2009, when there was no concept of entrepreneurship in the region. And we literally did every single mistake in the book. So the thing is, there's always going to be something new popping up, right? We've had cases where our co-founders left. We've had cases where we've been backstabbed nonstop. We've had cases where customers stole our data and left. We've had everything. The answer is that you always have to find a way to reset and just keep on going, right? And so, I mean, over the years, we've had, again, lots of ups, lots of downs. But again, if you keep on moving forward and just keep on putting one foot straight and one foot before the other, you typically find a way to get up again and keep going.
Yeah, but I mean, that's easier said than done. That reset in itself, how do you reset? Because a lot of people get stuck in this person betrayed me, or we invested in this person and then they let us go for something better, a bigger price or whatever it was. How do you reset?
There are some things that you'll never forget, right? There's a particular thing that happened to us 4 years ago that completely destroyed the company, right? It doesn't mean you forgive, but you have to find a way, for the sake of everybody else and everything you've put into it, to get up and keep on going, right? And with time, things passes. The thing is, you always got to have a plan what to do next, right? So again, so long story short, we were massively backstabbed 4 years ago at the peak of our growth. And then the question was, do we completely give up? But then if we do, then day one, or do you get up and start moving again, right? And again, it's a question of doing one step after the other. The moment you start doing one step, you have to keep on going, no choice, right? So it's literally just making sure you do the first step forward, and then everything else follows from there. You don't have time. Listen, you have employees to pay, you have customers to make happy. You can't dwell too much on your failures, at least with the business.
So you need to cut that period of reflection, understanding, and just putting it aside. Shorten that period, because you need to keep going.
Let it feed you. I mean, a big part of why we keep on going is to be able to prove to the people that backstab us that they were wrong, right? So at some point, the more people tell you no, the more it feeds you, and actually it makes you want to go forward and prove everybody wrong. Right?
So use it as fuel to
100%,
keep going.
100%.
I like that. Okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Can you tell me what's been your biggest mistake, and what did you learn from that?
Our biggest mistake was probably starting a business too early in the wrong country or in the wrong region. So we built something that is up to today miles ahead of everybody else, in a place that didn't necessarily value it. And we stayed here for the wrong reasons, which is more sentimental. Had we moved to the US or to other places that are a bit more interested in innovation-based startups, we probably would have been a lot further away. So the thing is, in business, you have to differentiate between emotional and reality. And my mistake is I was too emotionally attached to a particular place. And that's got me stuck here for a bit too long, right? Listen, there's no right or wrong. With hindsight, everything is a bit different, but that would have been something that I would have done differently. Once you peel the onions, you see things differently.
Again, this onion is coming into my podcast. How? Thank you, Jamil, for bringing the onion concept into my podcast. I'm like,
You're
what are you
welcome.
doing? We're bringing the onion into
You're
it.
welcome.
But you're right. It is very much like you need to have that level of detachment that it's a business. And I think a lot of the concept of my business is my baby, I don't agree with that. I think you have to have that separation because there has to be a level of, let's say, liability.
Listen, it's easy to say, right?
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
Easy to say. And the problem is, this is where life becomes interesting because we started off, we were 3 founders.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them left. One because he got married and had to get a job. One because he divorced and went into life. So my point is you end up being by yourself, managing the business, the ship. And so like it or not, since you don't have anybody else at the same level as you to actually go and discuss or bounce ideas off, it becomes your baby, right? So there's a reason why typically investors don't want to fund solo founders because you end up being highly invested into that business.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean you can succeed. On the contrary, it means just you're more motivated.
Right.
But it means you got to have mechanisms for you to go and compensate or
Yeah.
reset, like I was saying before. Yeah.
Love that. Okay. So you've kind of touched upon this with the reset, but let's say you are going through these hard times, these tough times, right? Do you say something to yourself, or do you reach out to a resource like your family support, or take time out or something to get through it when you want to give up, when it's just getting too much and it's too overwhelming, or it's sucking you down, it's not working out for you? What do you do? Who do you reach out to? What's your ritual? Or
So I'm fundamentally a very lone wolf. So what I do for myself for reset is 2 things. One is actually very contradicting. One side, sports. I've always done sports, and I need my 2 hours of sports every day for me to reset. This is where I get all the frustration out, whatever it is, right? But the second time is mentoring. So I also help a lot of people out mentoring and investing in other companies because that's also a way for me to realize that I'm not the only one having problems, right? And so the more you give, the more you receive, kind of thing. So I've been mentoring, investing for the past 10 years, effectively. And it became a way for me to cope with whatever I'm going through, right? If I'm going through shit, but also going through issues, then it relativizes everything in a sense.
so it keeps you grounded in as far as saying, okay, I'm dealing with these problems, but there are other people who are also dealing with problems, so let me try to give back.
And the funny thing is, you end up seeing that your problem that you were having, they're also having it, right? So it's not just you; it's a community thing, right? And this is how we started this whole community with Jamil a year ago. But it's realizing that we're all having the same problems. We're all having problems with cash flow, with capital not being there. So might as well come together and help each other out, right? The initial concept of community was to help each other out to succeed.
And I think this is one element where if founders start to feel more comfortable with sharing their problems, their issues, without complaining about it, but with saying, look, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm dealing with. Anyone give me any insights? Like, has anyone gone through this? Can you give me a heads up on how to deal with this? Coming together, I think we'll be able to go through things a lot easier, maybe a lot faster, rather than thinking our problem and we magnify this problem to be the greatest problem on the planet, which it really isn't.
Listen, I agree. I also think there's a time to vent, there's a time to complain, there's a time for everything else, and it's completely acceptable. People need to vent, people need to complain, and people need to listen to why they're complaining. And I think it's completely fine. I mean, you don't want to judge other people for going through hard times. We've all been through it.
Yeah.
But after, what happens, right? Some people complain because they just like to complain. That's completely useless. But some people complain because they want to be heard and they want to hopefully get something out of it, right? So my point is, you should never shut people down if they're being negative. On the contrary, you should listen to why they are in the position they are and try and learn and try and improve things.
I agree with you, but it's the same concept as when people don't understand how to give constructive feedback. They think feedback is saying, I don't like this. That's your preference. So it's the same concept in terms of complaining without an end goal of finding a solution is just unnecessary use of negative energy. So you're just sharing this thing and it's just getting out of control. But if you have a purpose to, I'm complaining to vent, to get it out of my system, give me a way to figure this out. Find me a solution. Let's come together and create something to get me out of this funk. There is progress.
Agreed.
So I just think, to be honest with you, I'm distancing myself from the non-stop complainers because they're draining energy. And I'm like, oh my God, I've already got a lot of stuff going on right now. I can hear you, but you need to know this has got to find a happy solution rather than just endless complaints. Interesting. Okay. Can you tell me what's been your proudest moment as a founder so far?
Honestly, there's been quite a few. I think the last one that we have is probably still being alive and kicking and being able to constantly get up, rebuild, reschedule, restart. So I don't want to go into much details, but when you're left for dead and you're able to get up and to keep on going and to still attract capital, attract people, attract talent, build a team, get going again, just that is a lot.
So you're
We've
in a
had
strength.
lots of success before, don't get me wrong, but I think that particular thing, on a personal point of view, to again just keep on going is by itself sometimes an achievement.
I definitely agree. I think a lot of the times it's not so much about what you have achieved as a milestone in the business or whatever. It's about your personal achievement.
Yeah.
So that sometimes we lose focus and we're
100%.
thinking about financially if we hit this mark, or has the investor been satisfied, or are our employees happy, but where are we? We lose focus of ourselves.
It reminds me of the speech that Snoop Dogg gave. I can't remember it. When he was
I
giving.
like to thank myself.
Exactly.
Love it.
I like to thank myself. 100%, man. 100%.
We don't do that.
Yeah,
We're
I
so
know.
busy thanking everybody.
I know.
And then you're like, oh yeah, but it was me.
Yeah, it was.
Without me, this can't happen. Yes,
Exactly.
of course, we acknowledge everybody else who's helped us along the way, but it's you. And I think as founders, you have to find that resilience and that self-motivation to keep going within yourself.
See, it's about you with everybody else. It's not about you being you and then you're the master of the world. That's not it. If this is your mentality, you're not going to go anywhere.
Correct.
But you being able to understand that you have to give the energy to get up again and keep going again. And that's the big challenge. And I think not have people actually understand that or recognize that.
I love that. So I'm going to have to ask you a last question. Although I've got like 6 other questions I want to go through, but I'm like, you know what? We're on a time limit right now, so this is for me a teaser into the story of Karim.
Okay.
But I want to know, what's your golden rule as a founder? Like your biggest takeaway that you can share with someone.
There's this famous quote by Google guys: "Don't do evil." I'm a big fan of it, in the sense that everybody I've ever worked with, except for a few exceptions, even though we might have parted ways, we've always had a great relationship together. Right? And so it's learn to trust your employees, learn to trust your customers, learn to push people in the proper way, try to achieve success, try to achieve excellence. No ego whatsoever. Ego is the worst destructor of companies. And just be a good person. Just pay it forward. Whatever you do, pay it forward. Help people, invest in people, encourage them. You're just here to do your thing, but you're also here mostly to help others do their things. So I think as long as you're a giver and you push people in the right way, and I mean that's all you can hope for.
I love that. You're like a gentle giant.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
just an energy that I was so right. I'm honestly, I'm like, I just sense that in you, that
Thank you.
You are a giver, but you do it in such a gentle way.
Well, because it's honest. Again, my name is Karim, so I'm kind of stuck with my name. Karim and
You're
generous.
given the perfect name,
So
huh?
I'm stuck with it.
Love it. Well, thank you for being
Thank you.
stuck with me for this last 20-15 minutes.
My pleasure.
I appreciate you being so honest, raw, and just real. I know that there's so much more I can actually learn from you, and
Feel
it's
so
gonna.
so many more layers of the onion.
I know this. Please, the onion. Really, again, the onion. Thank you, Jamil, once again. Shout out to Jamil for introducing the onion into the podcast. I think I'm gonna have change my logo to an onion.
There you go. It's
But-
a trend.
I know. From my side, I'm just happy that you were here, you shared, and thank you for that, because I know that what you've gone through, people can resonate with that.
Yeah.
And the personal journey you've gone through in terms of the hardships you've had to overcome, you're not alone. And people out there can resonate and just realize that they're not alone either. So thank you for sharing.
My pleasure. Anybody wants to reach out, feel free to reach out. I don't bite.
We're going to definitely be having your tags on there as well, so people
Good.
can reach out to you. And as I said, he is a mentor, he's a speaker, so make sure that you follow him and you get a little bit more insight into who he is and get as much information from him as you can. He's got a wealth of knowledge and experience, so tap into that. Thank you guys for tuning in. And what else can I say? It's been an amazing session here at STEP. This is my last session, but don't think we're done yet. There's a lot more founders who are going to share their failures with us, so keep tuned into watching what we've got coming for you. But thank you for tuning in, and take care.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Woo!